Well, last season he had an average of 5.8 cards per match, and the season before that he had an average of 5.4 cards per match. So the Asian total in cards in this match is sitting at 5.5. I'm gonna take the over 5.5 cards.
Welcome to Stoppage Time. We're back after a 2-week hiatus, the international break, and of course, American Thanksgiving. But we got 3 big games to discuss today. We're going to do Newcastle, Man United in the EPL. We're going to switch over to La Liga in Spain, a big top 4 meeting between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. And then we're heading back to the Premier League. Man City and Tottenham renew their rivalry, which has been a good one over the past 2-3 years. With me from WagerTalk.com, Nick Borman, Kevin Dolan, and Pavlos. And Kev, I am going to go to you first because we got 3 games. I want opinions from all you guys on this one. But Newcastle, minus 103, draw plus 273. Man United, plus 266. Both teams come off midweek Champions League games. And, Kev, it's funny. You look at the standings, and for everything that Man United has been through, the turmoil, the goaltending errors, they're separated by 1 point in the standings. Man United are 1 point ahead of Newcastle, despite having a 0-goal differential, 16 goals for, 16 goals against through 13 games. Everyone seems to think Newcastle are the better side, but Man United sit 4 points out of third place, third and fourth place, and they're only 6 points out of top spot, Arsenal. It sounds weird given the turmoil that this team has been under with Ten Hag. Give me your thoughts on this game, and are you looking at a clear winner here?
Yes, Carmine, because I don't care what the table says. Newcastle are clearly the better team. Manchester United continue to get by. I mean, we'll talk about that a bit later. But, midweek results aside, I always kind of think Europe's its own beast in a lot of ways. So, when it comes to Premier League, I kind of stick it off to the side. And if we look at the EPL, Newcastle looked sensational last week against Chelsea. They absolutely tore through them. Anthony Gordon was a real headache, for the Blues down that left-hand side. And, they continually gave Chelsea all types of problems all game. And that's been pretty much Newcastle's MO, all season at home. They've lost just 1 game at St. James's all year. That was against Liverpool. In the game they really should have won. They took the early lead in that game, had by far the better chances, but coughed up 2 late goals against the Liverpool side who, have some kind of hoodoo against Newcastle at St. James's Park over recent seasons. But that aside, they destroyed Aston Villa in this venue 5-1, destroyed Chelsea last week. They have wins against Arsenal, PSG, Man City across various competitions in this venue as well. And they own the league's best defensive XG rating out of any team at home this season as well. So for me, I mean, we look back to last week. What was that against Everton last week for Manchester United? I honestly can't think of a more misleading final scoreline than that 3-0 win for United up at Goodison Park. Everton, were all over them for the majority of the match. Fair enough, Garnacho's strike was absolutely sensational. Rashford got the penalty. But this team remains completely smoke and mirrors for me. 4 straight I mean, you would look at the table, you would see United now have 4 straight wins on the road. But who have they beat? Burnley, Sheffield United, Fulham. That absolute luck box victory against Everton last week. This is a massive step up in class for United this week. I do expect them to fall short against, one of the strongest home sides in Europe on Saturday. So, yeah, give me Newcastle. I think they're the far, far superior team here.
All right, Kevin Dolan, a wager talk. Nick, I'm going to go to you next on this one. And you did mention the 4 straight wins for Man United. You can only beat who they put in front of you, but I always look at strength of scheduling as well too, and you have to take that into consideration because they're heading now to Newcastle, who are very good at home. And Kevin mentioned that game against Liverpool. That is a game in which they took a 1-0 lead and a red card, I think, to Virgil van Dijk in that game, if I remember correctly. And Liverpool were still able to come back playing 10 versus 11 and win that game 2-1. So maybe there is a little bit of voodoo there, but a disappointing midweek result for this Man United team. Obviously, 3-1 lead at Galatasaray, which I love it. Their stadium, it's all red, and it's like welcome to hell is what they tell you when you come to play Galatasaray. But they blow that lead. Maybe another goaltending error for Onana. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Kevin. I think Newcastle definitely is the better side. I think, having them in Europe right now is, I think, certainly throwing them off in the EPL. They're just not quite, a team like City or Liverpool that are built to be able to juggle, that type of a schedule where you're going through both competitions. So I think it is affecting them. So take that for what's worth heading into this weekend. I think for that reason, I don't disagree at all with Kevin. Choosing Newcastle as the side to play, that would be the side I would go with as well. I'm looking at the total instead. I think goals just makes a lot of sense. Kevin and you, Carm, both mentioned the strength of schedule, and that is really the reason why you see United where they are on the table. It's not that they're a good team. I mean, Kevin said the list, Wolves, Nottingham, Burnley, Brentford, Sheffield, Fulham, Luton, and then, yes, Everton, which was a fluke. In those 9 wins, they conceded a total of 4 goals and kept 6 clean sheets. Okay, so they beat the teams below them in the table. Right? They beat the teams that are clearly the pretenders of the Premier League, or the teams that are never really going to compete in the Premier League. But what have they done against quality? And Newcastle is quality, or at least you're going to have to argue. You can't argue the fact that they're closer to the quality teams than they are those teams I just listed. So United, losses to Spurs, Arsenal, Brighton, Bayern, Galatasaray, City, and then that ugly loss to Copenhagen. And of course, their first draw of the season this past midweek again against the Turkish side. But 3 goals conceded to every one of those, at least 3 goals to concede to every one of those, but Spurs, which they conceded 2. I mean, their defense is bad. And I can never, ever, ever put money on a team that has a defense that concedes like that. And against quality teams, they just cannot play defense against them. I mean, a total of whopping 25 goals conceded in those 8 matches against those quality sides, over 3 per game. You don't see that from anybody else that's a real contender of anything. So, again, where are you going to argue Newcastle falls in? Are they closer to the lower end of the Premier League, or are they closer to the higher end? Obviously, they're in Champions League, so they're a quality side team. I just think they're struggling a little bit with juggling both. So in either way, the argument could be made that this only helps the total, that maybe Newcastle isn't as crisp as they might otherwise be if they were only playing Premier League. They're probably just going to be a little sluggish, which hurts more defensively, I think, than it hurts offense. So that just contributes more to the fact that we could see some goals here. So I think this is going to be a goal fest. Newcastle may get there on their own just because United can't stop anybody that can actually score. So I like over 2 3/4. I think it's a very attractive total. I was surprised to see anything less than 3. So maybe I'm getting set up here for a trap, but I like goals.
All right, Nick Borman, Pavlos, I'm going to give you the final word on this one, and I get it. Both these teams come off obviously disappointing midweek Champions League games. United blow a 3-1 lead to finish 3-3. They have a lot to do now to try and get into the knockout stages. It's going to be very tough for them. And then Newcastle allow a last-minute penalty to PSG. That 1-0 lead, that 1-0 game or victory would have pretty much put them into the knockout stages. Now they've got some work to do as well too. So there's the disappointment of that. The thing here is, Pavlos, is as much as everyone believes, and myself included, that Newcastle are a very good team, especially tough to beat at home, the odds are -103 on this game on Newcastle, which begs the question, why aren't they higher?
They aren't higher because they have a lot of injuries right now, and they have had for quite some time in pretty much every line, especially in the defense, where Botman and Byrne, their starting center back and left back respectively, have been missing and it's just struggling. Actually, in the last 8 matches, they've only kept clean sheets, oddly enough, against Newcastle, against Arsenal, and against Manchester United in that Carabao Cup match. But other than that, they concede goals. They're not as good as they were at the start of the season. As you guys said, the Champions League involvement really is starting to creep up on them. And I think the key factor here, which is combined with the injuries, is the fact that Coach Eddie Howe didn't do a single substitute in their match in PSG, against PSG. The players who started finished the match. They didn't do a single substitute, a testament of how short their benches. Last week in the match against Chelsea, they had to use 2 players from the under-21 team, and these players, Diweni and Diallo, they don't even get playing time in the under-21. So that goes to show what a crisis they're going through right now. They don't have the personnel. Again, in the match against Chelsea, out of their 4 unused subs, 3 were goalkeepers. So if you know soccer, you know that there's something really, really bad going on injury-wise. And they're not getting any healthier from what I've read. It's probably going to be like, I think, Lewis Hall in the left back in the spot of Livramento. So there's very few changes that they can make. And, tired legs. And, if we speak about tired legs, yes, United had a fewer day to rest. They had to travel back from Turkey to England, but they have just a bit better roster, and I think that they can mix and match. I think they can rotate a little bit, while Newcastle don't have that luxury. And I think tired legs from that midweek match, and especially the frustration of that last-minute goal by PSG, which it wasn't a penalty kick. All the rules say that if the ball bounces in your in your body first and then in your arm, it's probably not a penalty kick. So frustration, tired legs, and many, many injuries, they just have me looking the other way here. I'm going to take Manchester United plus half a goal. I actually took that as a 3% play as soon as the Newcastle versus PSG match finished, because when I see no substitutions, I just know that these players are going to be very, very tired in their next match. And I think United can at least force a draw here. Newcastle, yes, they've been extremely great at home, but I think this is a spot where United could actually get something here. So I like Manchester United plus half a goal or double chance at minus 115.
Pavlos, I agree with you. I just think the dynamic here is a little different. I hope it doesn't end up blowing up in my face, but I think getting the half goal here might be the right play. And with those injuries, we'll see. The transfer window comes up in January. We'll see if Newcastle at that point confirm their spot into the knockout stages. They're going to need to pick up some players, especially if that injury list doesn't get any shorter. So we'll see if they buy anyone there. Speaking of buy, guys, I want to mention real quickly a deal for the 4 guys on the Stoppage Time show. You can get a 30-day soccer all-access package for only $99 if you use coupon code December. That's just the DEC 100. DEC 100 will get you $100 off the $199 30-day all-access package. Basically, you're getting soccer for $3.30 a day. It's a great deal. Take advantage of that over at WagerTalk on your favorite cappers page. All right, guys. Let's switch the focus over to Spain and La Liga. We need to mix it up a little bit, and this is a big one. These are the teams that are currently in 3rd and 4th place, tied on 31 points each, behind Real Madrid and Girona, and that is Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. Barcelona minus 106 at home. The draw is plus 276. Atletico Madrid plus 278. Kev, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Barca won both games last year, 1-0, but it's been tight between these two over the years. Last 8 meetings, 3-3-2, pretty much even. Barca 6-0-1 at home. Their only loss, El Clasico, in which they blew a lead in that one to lose to Real Madrid. But Atletico, perfect at home, 7-0, but they get on the road, not so great. Still a winning record, 3-1-2. Do you take the home side here, or are you looking elsewhere?
I wrote an article for this game earlier in the week, Carmine, which you can check out over at WagerTalk News. And I made the case for the road team in this one, taking Atletico plus a half goal head start on Sunday. As you mentioned, the series has been extremely tight with that 1-3 drawn 2 lost 3 record between both teams since the start of 2020. And, that was when Barcelona were in their home fortress of Camp Nou as well. Obviously, that dynamic has slightly shifted this season. But, Atletico have been one of the standout teams for me in Europe this year. Take away the shock result against Las Palmas on the road a few weeks ago. And in fairness, Gran Canaria, it's been the site of a few shocks already this season, given, the travel time down to it and back, for the teams from the mainland. And, Atletico have been almost perfect for a long time since then. You have to go all the way back to mid-September to find the last time they put a blemish on their record in terms of a loss. So, that just hasn't been the case for this Barcelona team of late. 2 losses across the last 6 games and all. They look far from the settled defensive unit we saw last season. We go back to last season, those defensive numbers Barcelona were posting were absolutely elite. That hasn't been the case this year. They've kept just 1 clean sheet across each of the last 7 starts. And, they take on an Atletico side here who own the best expected goals differential per 90 minutes in La Liga this season. They own the best defensive XG rating away from home as well. And they've scored the most counter-attacking goals out of any team in the league also. So, for me, catching a half-goal head start here on the team with the overall better stats heading into this game looks like the value side of the play. And, I'm happy to take a piece of Atletico here on Sunday.
All right. Atletico, Nick, Barca, this is your chance to rebut Kevin, or do you agree with him on this one?
Well, once again, I guess I'll say I do not disagree with the side selection. I'm going to go elsewhere on the goals, but the head start on Atletico is pretty tempting just because I can't really separate the teams that much. I think Atletico is very, very well. And that's the reason I am actually looking at goals in this game. I mean, you ask me any other year going back, you see these two teams match up. How quickly can I hit the under? How quickly can I hit the under, right? But there's something different about Atletico this year, and they're not the Atletico that we've seen in the years past that are content with sitting back and playing defense and winning 1-0. They're attacking and they're pushing, and it's working for them clearly. If you just look at their results, I mean, 10 of their last 11 in all competitions have finished, over this total. This total set at 2 3/4. You can just take the over, right? That's the simplest way. I like both teams to score and over. The Newcastle game we just talked about. Listen, I could see 5 goals or more in that thing with as bad as United is playing defensively. These teams aren't bad defensively. It's just I think the tempo is going to be a little different than we've seen from years past, and I think it's why we're seeing a total of 2 3/4. I'd have to go back. I didn't do this, but if I went back to the last 3 seasons between these teams, I can't imagine we're ever seeing a total over 2.5. But maybe I'm wrong. But it just feels a little different this year. Atletico's averaging 2.18 expected goals per match. Barcelona basically the same in terms of attacking, 2.05 per match. They've been held scoreless just twice in 19 competitions, though. Both of those kind of came on the road, so nothing you would expect them to get on the board here at home. Atletico has held scoreless twice in their first 2 games this season, but they haven't been held scoreless now in 14 matches since. They've kept just 4 clean sheets, too. Just another testament to say, 4 clean sheets in 14 games for Atletico would be considered a bad year for them, in years past. But if you're scoring 3 or 4 every game, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's like the City way. So I expect both teams to get on the board, and then it's just a question of, okay, will there be one more goal in there? I think the chances will be there. Of course, they got to finish, but I think there will be chances to be there. I think there seems to be some clear separation at the top of this table with the top 4 teams too, these teams included. I think it's a drop-off right after these 2 teams. So unlike years past where this La Liga table can be very congested, I think these teams can play a little riskier. I don't think they have to worry about protecting a point late in this game if it's tied. I think both can shoot for the win. I think both will. I don't think there's a reason to be content with a 1-1 draw or something like that late in this game. So just one little more caveat, I guess you could say, that leads me to believe that they're going to attack for 90 minutes, both sides. There's going to be no let up. And that alone, hopefully, will get us enough chances to cash it. So both teams to score plus over 2.5 is even money, or you can go for over 2.75 for like minus 110, minus 120, whatever it is. Of course, you're going to need 4 goals in that situation to fully cash.
All right, Pavlos, I'm going to give you the final word on this one. You see goals in this one. I feel bad the fact that, when you're talking about Barcelona, Gavi and the injury that he had playing for Spain. So obviously he's not available. This offense just hasn't been clicking like they have, Kevin mentioned, in years past. But then they did have Lionel Messi feeding everyone pretty much easy ones, layups. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Strange match to pick a winner, strange match to pick a total, and you know what that means? We're gonna get cards, and cards have been a really consistent. Actually, last season these 2 teams they met twice. And in the match in Barcelona, there was just one card in the first half and 11 cards in the second half. So it was an all-out brawl, and I expect something similar today, or actually on Saturday or Sunday when this match is. And last season also the other match, the match in Madrid, had 7 cards and 2 red cards right there at the end. I don't know if you remember that stunning display of Greco-Roman wrestling between Savage and Ferran Torres at the stoppage time. They grabbed each other, they wrestled to the ground. Of course, they were both sent off. So there's bound to be some bad blood between two sides who are also under a lot of pressure because, as you guys said, they're sitting tied at 31 points, 4 points behind both Girona and Real Madrid. And Barcelona, they have to play Girona next week. So I think that both teams are under a lot of pressure right now, especially Barcelona, who, keep in mind that they're not playing it at the Camp Nou, their natural home ground. They're playing in a different venue as the Camp Nou gets renovated. So, you don't have 90,000 people in the stands, like cheering for you. There's like 1/3 of that in the stands. And it matters because, Barcelona, they've been struggling offensively they've won 13 matches this season. Each of the last 8 wins came by exactly 1 goal. A lot of 1-0 wins there, 2-1 wins. So they marginally win. They're not the dominant side they've been in years past. So in this case, I talked about the last season match that had 12 yellow cards. The referee that was officiating that match is officiating this match as well. So Jose Maria Sanchez Martinez has an average of 5.5 cards per match this season, while last season he had an average of 5.8 cards per match, and the season before that he had an average of 5.4 cards per match. So the Asian total in cards in this match is sitting at 5.5. I'm going to take the over 5.5 cards. -110 at DraftKings. I think there's a very good chance we'll see a lot of cards and maybe some reds here.
You want to see some Spanish fire? I like it, Pavlos. Yeah. I'm good with that. We started with Welcome to Hell to finishing this one with we need some fire happening in Barcelona for this one. Guys, before we head to the third and final game, I want to mention obviously these games are being played on Saturday and Sunday, and huge cards of European football this weekend from all the cappers on the show, including myself. But Friday, we have a great promo. It's called Fill Your Cart. Basically, 1 day, 3 day, 7 day, even long-term packages, as many packages as you want from any of the cappers at WagerTalk. Drop them into your cart and you'll get 25% off. It's a great deal going on at WagerTalk, and that deal expires Friday at midnight. So fill your cart, 25% off all packages. No coupon needed. Once you load them up, that coupon is included in your cart. All right. Speaking of carts or Spurs, we're going to Manchester for this one. Man City and Tottenham. I would call this the featured game on the weekend as far as the Premier League goes. City -330. The draw is +507. Tottenham +787. Kev, things were going great for Tottenham, and the wheels seem to have fallen off the last three games for them. 3 losses. They've dropped from at one point top of the Prem to now 5th after losing to Aston Villa, but 5 of the last 7 meetings in Premier League play, they have beaten Man City. No other team has done that. Can they do it again?
Yeah, they seem to be like up there with Wolves in terms of having, we mentioned the voodoo case before. There's certain teams that just have something over other teams. But, given those absences, I think Spurs could really struggle here. Betancourt went down against Aston Villa last week with an ankle injury. He joins an absolutely massive IR list. Ivan Perisic, James Maddison, Van der Ven, Richarlison, Sessegnon. You've got Romero still suspended as well. So this is a team who are, they're on autopilot. They're an absolute shell of themselves right now. And that's shown out over recent results. You mentioned 3 straight defeats. They've given up multiple goals across each of those losses as well. So it is going to be tough for them. Manchester City, meanwhile, come off their second straight draw to hand Arsenal, leading the title race right now. I'd imagine Pep will be pretty disappointed with those 2 draws as well. giving up that 95th minute penalty against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. And I thought City were the better team for the majority of the game against Liverpool last week as well. But, that aside, this game does present a real opportunity to get back on track for City this weekend against, a Tottenham side who not only are a shell of themselves, they rank 5th worst in the league in defensive XGA since October the 1st as well. So I wrote an article earlier in the week. We get busy with those articles Monday and Tuesday. I gave out Manchester City over 2.5 goals at minus 115. I still like that, obviously. I think City could potentially rack up a bit of a scoreline here. But as an added play, I'll throw in the correct score, City to win by 3-0 at plus 850 also. Only Arsenal has a better defensive XG rating at home this season than Manchester City do. And I just think with the sheer amount of absences for Tottenham in this game, especially the playmaker. I know the defense is obviously lacking, but those playmakers like Perisic, like Maddison, they're going to find it, a real struggle here to break City open, at the other end. So, Manchester City team total goals over 2.5. And I also like the correct score 3-0 prop at plus 850 as well.
I like it, Kev. Listen, you guys know, if you watch this show, I love taking this play. And for the most part, last year was extremely profitable, and that is the Man City, when they're playing at home, Man City to win and over 3.5 goals scored. And it was always plus 130, plus 140. And then they went on a roll of where they were winning by big score lines. You had to start laying juice. But it's been a little bit different this year. But for tomorrow's game, for Sunday's game, it is Man City and over 3.5 goals plus 105. So a little bit of plus money back on this one. And I'll be taking it again. Nick, can I talk you into it, or are you going elsewhere?
Perfectly fine with it, Carm. I have a slight variation of that. I have to agree again with Kevin on the side. City is the better team. And yes, Tottenham has had their number over the years. But one thing I love, I guess in the first half of the season is really just looking at teams that are overperforming or underperforming, expected points, expected goal numbers. Because listen, I'll argue it all the time. Expected goals can never predict a match, but is a very, very good indicator of a true strength of the team over time. So what does that mean? Well, Carm, you started off this breakdown mentioning Spurs sitting atop the table through 10 matches. And what have they done since? Well, they've lost 3 straight. They sit 8th in expected points, okay? There was no way they were going to hang on to the top of that table with the way they were playing. Something was going to have to change, and clearly reality has caught up to this team. So City, they're the number 1 team in expected goals, expected points, and everything you might expect, because that's City, and that's who they are. And I just don't see the way, especially what Kevin said with all the absences too, that Spurs find a way to win this match. The one disagreement I'll have with Kevin is I do think Spurs can still find the back of the net once here. The thing with City is they just haven't been great defensively this year. And we're talking about teams that, even with Spurs missing some guys, we're talking about teams that they've played that have had less of an attacking, pedigree, if you will. So, I'm not very confident necessarily that City sits here and pulls out a clean sheet win. Could they? Sure. But I think Spurs will find a way to get on the board. They've done it, every match of the season. So it's hard to think even still that they won't find a way. City just simply outscoring their opponents. They've only kept those 3 clean sheets in 9 matches at home. And, you go to the Emirates, that's usually where they did their damage and they would win. But when you're winning by scoring 4 or 5 goals, you're also pressing a little bit. You're also pushing forward. You're also really not caring if you concede one. So it makes sense. And I think the Spurs can find that on there. So I agree with you, Carm. Yes, City and over 3.5 is probably fair to play this one, because I'm going City and both teams to score. That prop specifically is around plus 125, plus 130. I don't know what the price of the over 3.5 combination is, but I don't think it was quite to that plus number. But that, I guess they kind of go hand in hand. It seems unlikely City win 4-0 or higher. So I feel like to get the over 3.5, Carm, to agree with you, I think Tottenham gets on the board. So that's why I'm just pairing it with both teams to score to get a plus number.
All right. I like it, Nick. I was trying to get you the number on both teams to score. and over 3.5, but I can't seem to get it up on the screen. Maybe after Pavlos is done. Pavlos, final word on this one to you, and I will say this much. City at home, 5 wins, 1 draw. The draw came in the last game, 1-1 against Liverpool. Prior to that, 5 straight wins by a 16-3 goal differential. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, that's crazy, but this still is a big match. And Tottenham, as you said at the start, Carmine, they've found ways to hurt City in recent years, even though, Tottenham in past seasons, they were slightly better, if I may use that term, because, they had Kane, they were healthier or whatever. What really caught my eye, this is a match where I don't really want to get involved, but there is one prop that has to do with goals that really caught my eye, is at plus 260, and that's where I'm going here. Now, Tottenham, as you guys said, they lost each of the last 3. Okay, granted. But they scored first in each of those 3 goals. In each of those 3 matches. Against Aston Villa, they took the lead. Wolves, they took the lead. Chelsea, they took the lead. And they also took the lead against Arsenal. No, not against Arsenal, against Liverpool and against Manchester United earlier in the season, which goes to show that they come out with guns blazing. Most of these goals were scored within the first 10 minutes of the match, like 6th minute, 4th minute, and so on. So, and if you look at what they've done in the last couple of seasons against Manchester City, they scored the first goal in each of the last 4 matches. So they played 4 matches against City in the past 2 seasons. They scored first in all 4. And of course, last season at the Etihad, they lost 4-2, but they were up 2-0 at halftime. And then they pretty much fell apart in the second half and lost 4-2. So City, they just conceded 2 first-half goals against Leipzig. Totally different beast, totally different competition. Yes, I get it. But still, they conceded 2 first-half goals against Leipzig. They went on to overturn the result. Tottenham, they do have a lot of absences. They do have a lot of, playmakers missing from that squad. But for whatever reason, I like Tottenham to score first at plus 260. And then I don't care what happens the rest of the match. City win by 5-1. Yeah, fine by me. But I just want a Tottenham goal, Tottenham to score first. And if you want another angle on this match, you can take City to win from behind at plus 550. But, Tottenham to score first at plus 260 at DraftKings, I think that's a really nice alternative way to, bet some money. Don't go heavy on it. And if it works, it works. Otherwise, I think that's the best value you can squeeze out of this match, because I personally don't like to bet heavily on big matches. I like to bet a couple of props, a couple of high numbers, and just sit back with my beer and enjoy it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in this match. I'm going to take Tottenham to score first at plus 260.
You're going to sit back with your beer. It's Spurs and Suds for Pavlos on. Guys, 3 big games we covered. Tell us what your thoughts are. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Tell us who you like this weekend across all the big leagues in Europe and in these games that we discussed today. While you're there, please subscribe to the channel. We have 135,000 people subscribed to the channel and counting. Over 12,000 videos on this channel that you can look through with a ton of content. Don't forget to subscribe, please, and hit that like button. Kev, let's have a look at your leans on today's show. Doing that, let us know what you have up at WagerTalk.
Yeah, full soccer card already loaded up for this weekend, Carmine. We got Friday plays, Saturday plays in the EPL, Sunday plays up as well. Those are on my page right now. We've got an NBA best bet up for Thursday night as well. 30-18 run last 48 NBA best bet sites. So we've been red hot in that regard, and still ranks as the number 1 NBA profit leader at WagerTalk since the start of the 2018-2019 season. So yeah, expecting a big night ahead and a big weekend also.
He's talking football, he's playing basketball, and he's wearing a baseball cap. He's got it all covered. Nick, tell us what you have up at WagerTalk, and we'll have a look at your leans.
I got several plays up for the weekend cards in the domestic European leagues already, liking several spots right now. MLS playoffs down to the conference finals. We still have Cincinnati plus 2,500 alive in our futures market, so we'll see if I want to let that ride or suggest a hedge out there, but excited for the last 2 matches. Been a great MLS season, up over 50 units again, 5 straight winning years. So thankful for that. And golf is good this week. We got Tiger in the mix, Kevin. I know that gets you going and gets you up every morning. So I got action for the 4 days at the Hero World Challenge for the golf tournament this week as well.
Kevin refuses to hedge or watch golf. And with that said, we'll go to Pavlos for his leans and what he's got up at WagerTalk on today's show.
I do have a couple of best bets in the Bundesliga and EPL. Number one in profit in both the Bundesliga with plus 50 units, 31 and 17 all season. And number one in the EPL with plus 37 units and 18 and 8. So a couple of best bets loaded in the EPL and the Bundesliga. And of course, number one all sports in last 365 days with plus 239 units. Amazing soccer season. There's a couple of more plays that I'm looking for the weekend that will be loaded by the end of the day. And of course, I have a 5%, if you guys watch this in time, in the Europa Conference League on Thursday.
Awesome, Pavlos, and I wish you the best of luck with that. Myself, soccer plays being loaded for the weekend. NHL up every day, including NFL for the weekend. 5% play in NFL going this weekend. So take advantage of that. Fill your cart on Friday where you get 25% off any daily package or long-term package as well too. That deal expires Friday at midnight. Guys, we'll be back next Thursday with more football games from Europe. For myself, Pavlos Argaretos, Nick Borman, and Kevin Dolan, this is Stoppage Time. Good luck with your wagers.